remember every detail about Beijing. The smell, the lights, the crowd. I remember Nastia Liukin to go up and compete and give a beautiful routine. And I remember looking at her score, and it was 1 point higher than the highest score I had conjured up in my mind, that it was impossible for me to get a gold medal. I remember my heart just sinking. The entire world is being told. Do I even go out and compete? Do I just throw it? I remember thinking, well, if you can't win the gold medal, at least prove to the world that you deserved it. And starting my routine and giving the best routine of my entire life. I'd never felt lighter in my life. I felt like I was on top of the world. I remember seeing 50,000 people on their feet giving me a standing ovation. I told everybody it was the biggest honor of my life, but really kind of crushed my heart. I remember being given the silver medal on the podium. The person who did it gave me a hug and told me, he said, "I'm sorry." And I remember that being really strange for me, because it's kind of like I was being given a silver medal at the Olympic Games and being told I'm sorry. So it was kind of like a validation in my heart that I had failed. I got 2 more silver after that, then finally got a gold. But it was like once I got the gold, it didn't matter. I felt like the damage was done. I would go to school every day, and every single person would be asking about gymnastics or watching me on TV or reading an interview. Every news article in the entire world said that I was gonna come home with 4 Olympic gold medals, and I'd given 200% that day in competition and laid it out on the floor, but I felt like I had failed the world. I felt like since the world saw me as nothing else, then if I failed at being a gymnast, I failed at being a human being. I was 16 years old, living in a fishbowl. You know, every single person and their mother was applauding and congratulating me, and also critiquing me because I was on a world stage. It was now about what I wore and how I looked. I was growing up in the limelight. I was 16 years old and, you know, a muscular gymnast, and I was not even 4'8", and I was dancing next to girls who were, you know, supermodels. And I remember at 16, 17, from Dancing with the Stars, reading all of these blogs and reading newspaper articles and seeing headlines of people criticize my weight and my appearance and, you know, my personality and my character, and it affected me immensely. It drove me to try to change everything about myself. Trying to act like someone you aren't and trying to look like someone you will never be is exhausting and draining, and, you know, feeling like the world doesn't accept you for who you are, kind of, it hurts your heart. I feel like when all of that kind of compiled into one big moment, and it was this 2012 comeback, and I had all these sponsors, and I think around 6 months before the actual Olympic trials, I was hitting probably my all-time low. I was spending probably over 40 hours a week training. I was constantly trying to lose weight, but it wasn't happening. My parents wanted me to go see a psychologist or go see a doctor because they thought I was like clinically depressed. I remember I was like losing hair. I wasn't able to sleep. I wasn't eating properly. I was struggling with, I wasn't 16 any longer. And so for months, I just pushed myself in practice. And I said, you know, if this is what will make the sponsors happy and my parents happy and my coach happy and the team and the USA national team happy, and if this is what is right for everybody, then this is what's right for me. I can just push through it. And, you know, day after day, come home from practice just bawling and not having any outlet of peace. I remember walking into practice one day, getting up on the beam and like standing at the edge of the beam, looking down, getting ready to start flipping. And it's one of those moments that's really hard to explain and really hard for, I feel like, a lot of people to understand. But in that one moment, I felt like God was telling me, you know, you've been so distraught over this decision and been putting yourself through all of this and your family through all of this, and you've been afraid of disappointing a lot of people and, you know, not been yourself. But it's okay to follow your heart and to put it behind you. In that instant, I felt the entire world just like be lifted off my shoulders. And it was like in that one instant, I knew it was all gonna be okay. I was giving my heart and soul and getting to a place that I was not proud of, all for that gold medal again, that I distinctly remember in 2008 not being the greatest thing in the world. And I think it's just kind of that validation that there's always more. God is the answer to everything. And Jesus sacrificed his life on the cross so that when I stood up there and I was given that gold medal, yes, it's a monumental and amazing experience and wonderful thing, but it's not the end-all be-all. Yes, I can work my whole life to become the CEO of a company, or to make a certain amount of money, or to win 12 more Olympic gold medals, but it's not the purpose in life. And he will always be my greatest reward and my proudest reward. My name is Shawn Johnson, and I am second.
So let me ask you, what were some of the things that she said about the way that she felt, about the things that she learned, about the things that people said to her or about her? What are some of the things that stuck out to you, that got your attention? Not a hypothetical question or a rhetorical question. What stuck out to you? Anything in particular? Yeah, Haley.
Not like when she said that like winning the gold wasn't the like end all be all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What else?
Something that like hit me hard was when she said that the person was giving her the silver medal, and they said that they were sorry, and it sort of validated her failure. That was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
That when she got the silver medal, she couldn't even, like, she associated herself so much with that medal that she felt like a failure of a human.
Yeah. Any others? Yeah.
her image problems.
The image, yeah. The struggle with the image, yeah.
I think the thing that stuck out most to me was when she said that after getting like, all of the silver medals, that the gold didn't even matter to her anymore.
When she finally got the gold, it didn't even matter. It wasn't, yeah. I've watched this video probably 15 times, and I'm just in awe because this is one of those people who you would think if success mattered, she's good, she's fine. And I made a list of the things, like as I was listening, I just started writing stuff down, and some of them are what you guys had pointed out. When the person said, I'm sorry, and that it validated that she was a failure. When I eventually got the gold, it didn't even matter. A gold medal, how could a gold medal not matter, right? I had given 200%, but it felt like I had failed the world. Not had a bad day, failed the world. If I failed at being a gymnast, I had failed at being a human being. It drove me to try and change everything about myself. Trying to be someone you will never be is exhausting. Whatever will make everyone happy. If this is right for everybody, then this is right for me. That mindset. I had no outlet for peace. I was giving my heart and soul for something that was not the greatest thing in the world. She had already experienced that and knew that it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, and yet she was still giving her life to it. That God is the answer to everything. He will always be my greatest reward and my proudest reward. I know we don't have a room full of Olympic gymnasts. And her story, like all the other stories we've heard, is unique. But as I was reading through this, man, I never thought I'd relate so well to a 23-year-old girl, right? Like, oh, Sean and I got you, girl. And this was, when I heard this testimony, I immediately knew that I wanted to do this one in this series. That I wanted to talk about this and bring us to a place where we would be willing to confront this. Because I know whether you are a 7th grader or a senior, whether you are a male or a female, whether you are popular or unpopular, whether you are athletic or unathletic, musical, not musical, whatever it may be, every one of us in some way can identify with some of these mindsets. Can identify with when we fail and it's validated by someone because they shame you. I know we've all experienced that in some way. Whether it's a friend calling you an idiot, whether it's a parent telling you you're dumb, whether it's somebody saying, yeah, I knew you'd never amount to anything, and having that failure validated. Or whether you resonate with even when something goes well, it doesn't matter. It's not good enough. One of the things she said was, when I finally got the gold, it didn't matter. The damage had already been done. And I know that some of you live in that damage. That even when things go great, even when it's a gold medal, it doesn't matter. And you're lost in that damage. Feeling like you failed the world. She literally, she was watched by the world. The Olympics are international. And so she was being watched by the world. And so even it's like, well, you didn't let the world down. You let the United States down. Like, okay, the United States, we may not be televised in front of millions of people, but how many people do you have to let down to feel bad about it? To where it weighs on you. And you hear her story, and do you resonate with feeling like you failed the world? Maybe you just let down your parents. Maybe you just let down a friend. And you just feel like that weight of, I failed, just weighs you down. Thinking that changing yourself is the answer so that you can never actually be who God made you to be. I think that's what the teenage years are designed for, to just trying to figure out who you are, and yet when all these things happen and we take on all these things, it's so easy to never really feel like you can be who God made you to be. And believing that making everyone else happy is the most important thing. Being perfect, never messing up, never making a bad decision. And you just wear this stuff, you guys. You just wear it, and it's heavy. And all she wanted, every day she'd go home and just sob because all she wanted was to be free. I guarantee at 5 years old, when she said, Mommy, I want to do gymnastics, this is not how she wanted to go home from the gym every day. But when we allow the cares of the world, the pressures of the world, the opinions of the world to pile onto us, and we believe the lies of who the world says we are, and it's not in line with who God says we are, it weighs on us and it's heavy. And this is just a reality. And so I'm not going to stand up here and just be like, so just, it's not real. Just get past it. It is real. You guys, I experience it. You don't ever outgrow the attempt of the world to weigh you down. But it doesn't mean that you have to live there, and it certainly is not true that it's God's design for you. It's not God's design for you. And there's a couple things that I want to put out here to ask you to think about. I'm not going to put this nice bow on this for you because I realize that this is real, and it's real at different levels for each one of you, and I don't want to just be like, okay, there you go. I fixed it. Can't fix it. I can't fix it. But as I said earlier, his heart is strong. He's greater than our heart. He can heal us. He can bring that healing, and he can lift that weight. And I want to throw this out to you to consider, because if we are being bombarded with lies, the only way to fight lies is with truth. It's the only way to do it. And some of you have every day lies and weight and hurt spoken over you, curses spoken over your life every day. Maybe it's by friends, maybe it's by parents, maybe it's by yourself. And tonight, I want to speak truth over you. And I want to challenge you to consider how have I been taking all this on, and I've been wearing this and not receiving what God has for me and what God wants to do. Jesus was surrounded by broken people. People who were having a really hard time. Some people just walked right up to him and go, hey, so how do I get fixed? How does this go better? And Jesus said this, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden that I give you is light. One of the biggest lies is that you're on your own. Do your best. You're feeling weighed down by the world. You're feeling like you let the whole world down, that you have failed the world, that you are unlovable, that you are unwanted. You just believe all those lies, and you wear that, and it's a burden. You need to know that there is a God, the God who created you, the God who came to earth so that we could have relationship with him, who says, come here. One of the things that I love about my dad, he's a great hugger. And I remember growing up that there were times I'm just having a bad day, or I'm struggling with something, and I can do the impression exactly. If you were to ever meet my dad, I am a master at mimicking my dad. But this is what my dad would do. I'd come in, what's wrong? Oh, I'm doing, and he'd go, come here. And I'd walk over, and my dad's like this tall. He's like, and he would just hug me. This is God. This is not a boyfriend. It's not a girlfriend. This is not even a mom or a dad. This is the God who created you, who is as real as you and me, saying, hey, the world weighing you down, you having lies thrown at you all day long, saying you're not good enough, you're not forgivable, you're not lovable, you're not acceptable, and you're tempted to wear. Come here. Come here. Come here. And I'll give you rest. It's Jesus looking you right in the heart and going, I know you're tired. And you're trying to convince everybody you're not tired. You're trying to convince, what she says, like, I told everybody it was the greatest honor in the world, but really my heart was broken. You're tired. You're tired of faking it. You're tired of smiling and everything's fine. And you just keep believing the lies. And Jesus looks at you. He's looking at you and going, come here. You're tired. You're burdened. You're carrying around things that I never intended you for you to carry around. It's too heavy. You were not designed to carry this load. Come to me, all of you who are weary and you carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Let me teach you, because I'm humble and I'm gentle. The burden of being good enough, the burden of trying to carry the weight of the expectations of the world on your shoulders will never bring you rest. It will never bring you rest. And some of you have been trying for so long. But coming to Jesus can be tough because it's going to have to actually mean, I mean, there was a point when my dad would say, come here. Sometimes I'd be like, no, I'm fine. No. You ever use that line? I'm fine. And we can walk away. I'm fine. No, I'm fine. No, I'm just having a bad day. And we continue to carry it. See, when Jesus says, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, what do you have to acknowledge? That you're weary and carrying heavy burdens. You guys, at least in our culture, this is the only culture I've really ever grown up in. It's like we are taught, be strong, be independent, you do you. One of the phrases I hate more than anything, and I promise I will never say this to one of my kids. I hate the phrase when it says, come on, man up. That's what our culture tells us in a variety of ways. Man up. Quit being a wuss. Quit being a baby. Our culture says you got to wear this. You take this hard life. You take this failure. You take this disappointment and you stick it around your neck. You go to school. You go to your sports team. You go to your choir thing, your drama thing, your band thing. You go to youth group. And you wear this. See, coming to Jesus can be tricky because if we're in a place where we are so in the habit of, or just in the mindset of going, I'm fine, we're going to continue to wear that. But here's what Peter wrote. Peter, guy who spent a lot of time with Jesus. So humble yourself under his mighty power, and at the right time, who will lift you up? He will lift you up. And at the right time, he will lift you up in honor. Give all your worries and cares to God. Why? Because he cares about you. Some of you, you're walking through life and you don't believe anybody cares about you. You believe people will use you. You believe people will tolerate you. There is a God who made you, who says, come here. Come here, you're tired, you're burdened, I'll give you rest. Our job is to go, I'm tired, I'm burdened, I've been wearing all this crap around my neck, just heavy, and I'm so tired. And guys, I will confess to you, I am one of the worst at admitting I'm not okay. I may be tired. I may not feel good physically. I may be having a bad day. Laura will text me. She'll be like, hey, how's your day going? And I'll say, fine. I'll get home. I'll pull up. I'll be driving in the car and I'll just be in the car like, oh, I feel like garbage. I pull up in the driveway. Time to be with my family. Hey, guys. Hey, how you feeling? I'm good. I'm fine. Well, sometimes I am fine. You guys, our job, when God says, come to me, you're tired, you're burdened, is to go, I'm tired. I don't feel good. I'm burdened. And it says that he will lift you up. The Almighty God. Not your friend, not your boyfriend, your girlfriend, not an A in a class, not making varsity will lift you up. All these things that we look to lift us up. He's going, no. Humble yourself. Admit you're a train wreck. Admit that you're struggling, that life is not okay. And let God lift you up. Not success, not being good enough. Let God lift you up. But we've got that first part. So humble yourself. Ugh. Every day we are bombarded with man up. Quit being a baby. Humble yourself. Be willing to go, you know what? I'm not okay. And you guys, here at Exit 83, that is one of our purpose statements. The first thing, anybody who walks through the door, we want you to know that God loves you and he has a purpose for your life. The next thing, we want you to know that this is a safe place and it's okay not to be okay. It's okay for you to raise your hand and say, I'm not great. That happy Christian face, ugh. It's okay to say, I'm not doing well. I'm struggling. I am weary. I have burdens that I'm wearing like the fanciest jewelry you could ever find. And I'm actually proud of it because I think it's great that I'm tough, that I'm strong, that I'm manning up. Humble yourself. Under the mighty power of God, at the right time, he'll lift you up. Give all your worries and cares to God because he cares about you. Paul, one of these guys that we look at in the Bible who is like, man, that guy must have had real. He was struggling. The enemy was going at him, trying to get him to lose heart, to lose faith. He was struggling. And Paul, this man of God, says this, God, 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. This thing that he was struggling with. And each time, this is what God said. Paul, my grace is all you need. My power works best in what? That's dumb. God's strength, why can't it work best when I'm just strong and I'm just manning up and my strength? My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now, this is Paul talking, now I'm glad to boast about my weakness so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weakness. And in the insults, the hardships, the persecutions, and the troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Paul is one of those guys. I want to be one of these guys. I want to be like this. Paul was one of those guys where somebody goes, hey, how's it going? Lousy. You would rock some people's world at school if somebody was like, hey, Lucas, how's it going? Well, my life's actually pretty terrible. Let me walk with you. So, like, oh, I didn't actually think, okay. What if we start being like Paul, where we're like, not good? Anybody? Anybody just like, hey, You know what? Let's do this together because I am this confident we can be this real. Okay. Anybody willing to go, hey, how's life going? Not good. Yeah. Yeah. You guys, no. And don't, seriously, and I know this could get silly, and I don't want it to be silly. I want you to be willing in this place and with one another and in your own stinking heart to be willing to go, I'm not okay. But we live in this culture where we're like, the right answer is fine. Paul goes, you know what? I'm not okay. You know what? I'm so stinking glad I'm not okay because when I'm not okay, it means I have to depend on Jesus. I have to depend on God. And if you're depending on God, there's no way that anybody else, your best friend comes up and is like, hey, don't worry, you can count on me. Jesus, I don't need to depend on you. I got the creator of the universe. Get away from me, weakling little boyfriend. We need to be in a place where we're like, I am a mess. But you know what? I believe that God is going to bring life out of this mess. I believe that I can fully depend on God and that when I'm weak, He's going to make me strong. When I'm weak, He is going to come through in huge ways. But so often, we are unwilling to go there. We're not willing to humble ourselves and say, I'm weak. I'm carrying a heavy burden. We got to man up. We got to be brave. We got to be strong. Where do you turn in your failures and weaknesses? You just make everything fine? Or are you willing to acknowledge it and go, I'm so broken. I'm so hurting. And I love this. In Paul's letter to the church in Philippi, he says, don't worry about anything because nothing's a big deal. Is that what he says? No. Don't worry about anything. But instead of worrying, instead of wearing that burden, instead of getting crushed under the weight of stuff that you can't control, instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He's done. And now comes a huge word. What is the next word in this verse? Then. That means with everything that's been said beforehand, the next thing is going to be possible. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything, tell God what you need, and thank Him for all that He's done. Then, you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything you can understand. His peace will guard your heart and mind as you live in Christ Jesus. How many of you would say you need peace? Come on, not rhetorical. How many of you would say you need your heart and your mind guarded? The way that happens is when we turn to God. The way we experience that. Experiencing God's peace is conditional on you taking your worry to Him. We don't get to go, oh God, help me. Okay, I got to manage all this. You want God's peace? Go to God for His peace. But it means we've got to humble ourselves. It means we've got to acknowledge, I am broken, I am burdened, I am tired. And some of you, you've never confessed that. You've never been willing to admit that. Tonight, we're going to go to detour groups. And I realize that some of you, you've been around Exit 83 for a long time, and that could be a disadvantage. Because this could feel kind of just routine. Okay, I'm going to go to detour groups, I'm going to sit there. And I want to challenge you tonight to be more real than you've ever been. That you would be willing to consider this and go, I keep saying I'm fine and I'm not fine. I need people to come around me and I need people to pray for me and I need to acknowledge where I'm at. Some of you, this is your first time, or your first or second or third time. You haven't been around long. I want to tell you this. I want to promise you this, and I have this confidence in this group. This is a safe place. What is shared in detour groups will stay in detour groups. No one's going to laugh at you. No one's going to make fun of you. No one's going to embarrass you. And this is a place where you can be real. And we want to pray for you because we believe what God says when he says he hears our prayer. He hears when his kids talk to him. So we want to give you the opportunity to be real, to humble yourself before God, to say, I'm tired and I'm weary and I need you to pray for me and I need to give this to God. And you're going to have that opportunity tonight in your detour group. So I want to ask you not to go nuts when we go to detour groups. One of the inevitable kinds of things is we've got to go to a room. But I want to ask you to do it in a controlled way, in a disciplined way, not running around and screaming, but that you keep this in mind. And that as you go to detour groups, you'd even be in prayer of just going, God, what are you wanting to do? And so I'm asking you not to goof around, not to go running around, not to go to the shop and throw things or buy things, or, but that you would go to your detour group and really be considering what you need to share and how you can let people come alongside you.